Because we've come here for two reasons: to reconnect after being away on amazing adventures in India and in...
Well, I was in Nepal and many
Nepal.
other countries too, but yeah, in Asia anyway.
In Asia. And we are here working on, we're putting the finishing touches on our manual for our upcoming Tantra teacher training, which we have called Sarasa Tantra. And I love that. It's one of my new favorite Sanskrit words. It means juicy or potent and full of life. And yeah.
Just like us.
Just like Julia and I. So while we're going to be writing the manual, we wanted to include you on this little retreat we're in and to share a little bit of some of the stories of our amazing adventures. And just over breakfast, Julia was talking to me about the sweet people in Nepal and what really moved you about them. So I wonder if you could share with some of the people on Facebook Live.
Yeah,
about that.
absolutely. So I did a 7-week trip taking groups to Bali and then Nepal and Bhutan and also Thailand, and it was a wonderful, wonderful journey. But I was telling Caroline, actually my favorite part of the whole trip was being in Nepal, and partly it's because I enjoy the way the people are there so very, very much. We had a chance to actually walk through villages on a wonderful little trek, and you know what I noticed was the simplicity of life, and in the simplicity of life there's a happiness and a joy that bubbles forth. You see it in the eyes of the children who play with just very, very simple toys, and yet they are brimming over with just love of life and joyfulness that I sometimes don't really see here in our more materialistic driven world. And there's a calm to the people. I find them very present. They look into your eyes, they connect with you. It doesn't matter if it's the cleaning lady in the hotel or whoever it is. They look you in the eye and connect with you. And I find this is such a great reminder to me of the value of being present and finding joy in the simple things of life. So I love that as just a teaching. You know, I think sometimes it's that there's such power in the simple teachings. And for me, gosh, if I can just enjoy this lovely sunny day, being with my good friend here, there's such joy in this. So that's what I'm looking for in my life, is to find more joy in often the more mundane parts of life.
Right. And you talked about people moving at a slower pace, almost a meditative pace when they were there.
Yeah, well, they're not in a hurry. I mean, you know, in the village life, taking the crops in, doing the daily chores, it's just done, has to be done. But I just noticed there was a beautiful rhythm to life there, and I felt my whole nervous system drop in and calm down. Yes, like that, as I spent time in that gentle rhythm of life. So it was a magical journey, and I'm so inspired by the Nepalese. I want to go back again next year. And in fact, I'm going to take another group to Nepal next October. So if anyone's interested, do let me know. We'll do some trekking through the villages and explore Kathmandu and have a really awesome time. But you, my dear, were in India, and I know you have some tales to share of your spiritual experiences there. Would you like to mention
share a little bit? Well, what was so sweet was one of the stories. I have more to share than I could fit into one video, so Julia and I have each picked one memory to share with you. But I was at the foothills of the Himalayas, and even though Julia was thousands of miles away, it felt like she was just over the hill.
Not that far. I was kind of just over the mountain, just a little north.
So it was very sweet, and some of our mutual students were with Julia in Nepal, and so I was holding them all in our hearts. You know, all of our students, even if you're not with us in person, we keep you, especially when you've come and done some of these deeper dives with us. We hold you wherever you end up being in the world.
We do.
So, I was sharing last night here with Julia a very special memory for me. It was up in the foothills of the Himalayas near Rishikesh. And the town of Rishikesh to me felt quite touristy, but once we took about a 25-minute drive north up into the foothills, we were going to something that's nicknamed the Gayatri Cave. Some of you may be familiar with a mantra called the Gayatri Mantra. And the cave is actually called Vashusta's cave, And it was where the transmission of the Gayatri mantra actually came through. And for those of you that don't know the Gayatri, it's actually all about connecting with the light and holding the light.
And this time, we are feeling that that is one of the prime objectives that we personally are both holding, is to hold the light, because it's felt dark and chaotic for so many people. So that's why we feel this is such an important piece to be sharing with you today. Right?
To bring in. Yeah.
And to share with you tools to bring that in.
And what was so lovely was as we walked down to the cave, past 2 ashrams, the silence just descended upon me. And I'm quite a chatty person, as some of you will know from either meeting me in person or watching these videos. But I ended up being in an exquisite state of silence for about 3 hours. And as my beautiful teacher that I was there with on the pilgrimage shared about the story of the Gayatri, and then we chanted the Gayatri mantra, and then spent time walking down to the Ganges. We were right by the Ganges. It was so profound. It was probably my favorite memory, if I had to pick my top. It's so hard to pick your top story in India, but that really was. It's given me a practice. I now chant the Gayatri daily as a means to connect to the light. And even the pronunciation, I've noticed it's shifting the way that I teach mantra with my students. So we'll be incorporating a lot of the science of sound and the Tantra of sound in our retreats and our trainings moving forward.
It's a wonderful piece. And I'm so happy for Caroline that she got to study with really masters of the Tantra of sound while she was in India. And that was an incredible blessing for you, wasn't it?
It really was. Julia was so lovely, because as we sat sharing, we were sitting outside by the fire here, by the sea last night. And when somebody's traveled, it's really wonderful, and especially to India, you listened in a way that I've only experienced others that have traveled or lived in India to listen. And you let me talk. I talked for a really long time. I gave a much more elaborate version of the story, but it was so meaningful for me. It was such a sweet and a deep memory. And it's part of why we want to invite you to amazing locations with us. Julia's taking people to Nepal. We're going together to Mexico.
We are. We're going to this beautiful place in Mexico called Yalapa. And it too has a very magical energy, a high vibration. And a lot of people, if they're sensitive, can feel it as soon as you get off the boat. Actually, even before that, as the boat turns into the cove, you take the boat from Puerto Vallarta, you turn into the cove. And I know it makes me cry every time. My heart bursts open. And I see that incredible bay. And you start to feel the frequency of what's going on there in the land or with the people. I don't know, whatever it is, there's something so special about it. So I think it's so beautiful to do deep tantric practices in high energy places. It just adds to the experience. So that's our intention for you when you come away with us. We're going to choose beautiful places and places that will enhance what we're teaching.
And there is something about getting away from it all. It's part of why Julia and I came away to Monterey.
That's right.
We could work in Oakland, which is fine. We're just as productive. But your spirit soars when you look out at the ocean, and you just open up and you get away from the stresses and strains of everyday life and really tune in.
Yes, and I find when I'm more relaxed, I'm a lot more creative. So,
absolutely. And you take the energy and the information and the teachings in a whole new way.
So we're here creating for you while
I
we're on retreats today. And we love creating. We love getting our juices flowing and thinking of wonderful experiences for our students. And of course now we're also working on the Sarasa facilitator training, which will be happening next May and June.
May and June. So yeah, what I love about Julia and I is our energies. We kind of keep sparking each other, and the energy gets higher and higher, and we throw in another new idea and something else new and make it even more fabulous. And it's so fun to be creating in beautiful places and then actually bring the energy of those places in for all of you.
Absolutely.
So Sarasa Tantra, let's talk about who it's for and why people would come,
absolutely.
Julia.
Yeah.
So Sarasa Tantra is for anybody who wants to deepen their practice and their understanding of Tantra. It's for those who really want to get a good foundation, either those that already are doing some kind of facilitation or education practice but want to weave tantric elements in, or we know that there are people that are already teaching. And Julie and I found that so many of the trainings out there are skipping over many of the foundational pieces.
That's the problem. So we're going to spend quite a lot of time really grounding people in the foundational pieces and making sure that people understand why it's so important to ground yourself in your own body, and what it means to hold space, what it means to show up and be a great teacher, not just an adequate one. So we're going to go over a lot of the basics of actually just teaching and logistical aspects of that, as well as, of course, the content of what we're going to be sharing, and weave all of that together so that people will leave our training with a solid foundation to start their teaching career. And I would also say that it's an appropriate training for anybody who's holding group space of any kind. And it could be you're doing a women's group, or you're even teaching yoga, or I don't know, counseling work perhaps. This is going to be a great training for pretty much anybody who is working with group.
Right, and it's really a skill, Julia. People think, oh, you stand up in the front of the room, you got some material you can share. You really have to understand the energetics, how to build containers, how to actually hold yourself and the students. We're going to talk about student dynamics and what to do when things go wrong, for example, and how you manage people. We've got some local tourists walking by in our video, but how to actually manage when things go wrong, how to build the arc of energy to really lead a group. And we're going to use the format of puja, which Julie and I are both so passionate about.
Love our pujas.
When you come on retreats with us, we do like 4 pujas in a week, and people love them. Many people in the Bay Area know me for my pujas. It's a lot of how they find my work originally, and it's beautiful. So we're going to take the format of ritual to teach you how you can actually build success. There are lots of people out there that don't even know, for example, how to market their efforts. You may have amazing gifts, but you don't know how to get the word out there. I know so many of my colleagues and friends that are literally starving and wondering why their businesses can't work. And Julie and I are both businesswomen,
and we're successful.
And we're successful.
And we're also, what's I think important is that both of us are full-time. This is not like a part-time thing we do and we have another job that pays the bills. Both Caroline and I, we pay our bills solely from the teaching work that we do. So we are full-time professionals and we know how to do it successfully. And the financial component is an important piece. I mean, if you want to do this and really step forth and make it a career, you need to know how to do it as a business. So we are going to make ourselves available to mentor people who come to our training as well, and I think that's probably pretty invaluable, actually.
Absolutely.
I wish I'd been mentored. I just had to learn as I went, but over 20 years I have learned a lot. So, you know.
Well, that was my experience too, Julie. I was taught a lot of really advanced practices in the trainings I was in that completely unprepared me for the realities of being a Tantra teacher. And while, you know, the lens is going to be focused on Tantra and you're going to be going over, you have such a beautiful piece you're going to be teaching on the chakra system, for example, that really goes in depth to understanding energy in a whole new way. I was taught all these advanced practices, but it got me in very deep water. It didn't actually teach me how to be with my students. And we want to give you the wisdom that we've gleaned from actually doing this work and set you guys up for success. So we want you to be successful too. And probably the number one question that I get asked, I get this question at least once a week on Facebook: where do I go to learn Tantra? I want to teach, where do I go to learn? And Julie and I have very high values around integrity, and so we want to bring that as the cornerstone of what we're teaching you, so that you can bring that level of clarity and the skill and really feel competent and confident in what you're bringing forth in the room.
Absolutely. And of course we're not suggesting that after just a couple of weeks of training that you're going to be the best teacher ever. Of course not. It's going to take an awful lot of practice if you really want to do the work in a career-wise like Caroline and I do. You've got to go out there and practice. But we're going to be behind you and encouraging you and giving you feedback. And I think that's that's what's really going to help people to move forward and find a way to be successful in the career aspect of teaching Tantra.
Absolutely. And then for those facilitators that want to weave aspects of Tantra into what they're already teaching, this is a great program too. So you don't have to decide you want to be a Tantra teacher to come. Tantra builds amazing intimacy and connections and drops people into themselves and into connections with other participants in the workshops, or if you're working with couples, it's amazing what can happen.
It is. It's great for counselors who are working with couples, and also, and I'm a yoga teacher and I've led yoga retreats for 25 years, and I always weave tantric elements of practice into my yoga retreats. So if you're somebody who's a yoga teacher and wants to lead retreats, this would be a fantastic adjunct where you can learn practices that will connect your group at a far deeper level than just doing hatha yoga would ever do. So there's lots of scope here, I think, for people to come and enjoy a new mode, perhaps, for themselves, and mode of learning that they can incorporate into other arenas, not necessarily just pure Tantra.
Right. And this will also dovetail. There'll be a very select group selected from those that do. It's 2 modules that we're going to do in May and June. We're going to pop all the links and all the dates in the message below for you, so you can find it easily. But I'll be hand-picking for those that want to learn to dive even deeper and learn to give sessions. I'm going to be handling that. Julia is going to handle the first 2 modules with me, but I'm going to be hand-selecting from this teacher training those that are interested in doing that. So we would love to have you join us. We are running our first year in Oakland to keep the cost super low for you. This is going to be non-residential. We want to make it as available as possible to all of you. We love offering great discounts to those that sign up very early.
That's right.
So
early bird specials.
We already have people signed up. So there are, I think, 2 or 3 more super early bird tickets available.
Are you going to put the link at the bottom?
I will put the link at this for everybody, so that you can come and join us for Sarasa Tantra. It's something brand new that we literally birthed after our retreat in Hawaii. Julie and I were so juiced up from that and visioned all of this for you.
And we should also mention that Caroline and I have come from slightly different lineages of Tantra. So in Sarasa we are blending different teachings, different lineages into something brand new that's also based on the traditional. So.
Absolutely. And what I love, Julia, you and I are teaching, you guys hear me say this all the time, I'm teaching Neo-Tantra, which is a more Western version of Tantra, focused around sexuality. And both Julia and I have gone to Asia. We've sat with teachers there. We've sat with the gurus. And I know, especially after my time in India, I'm weaving more and more of the classical teachings in. So especially for those students that have done some Tantra, that really want to get to the juice, the subtle practices that really accelerate things, we're weaving all of that in. We're going to be bringing in mantras, for example, and I'm just so excited. I've got these amazing downloads from, literally I sat with the best Tantric and Sanskrit master in India, in Varanasi, in the oldest city in India, in the world actually it is. So come and literally use us for the years of wisdom and combined knowledge that we have to share with you.
Save yourself the airfare.
Right, that's why we're doing it in Oakland. Come and learn from us. And some of you may fly in from other parts of the country, or the world. Totally welcome. Sure. This will be non-residential because, again, we're trying to keep the costs super low for you. And you really want to join us this year because I'm pretty sure our prices will have gone up by the time we do it next year.
This is like an intro special, if you like.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you for joining us today in Santa Cruz. Yeah. We're going to go and carry on working hard for you. We want you to find what it is you're passionate about in your work and in your world, just like we have to guard and inspire the world. So thank you to everybody who tuned in. Feel free to pop any questions in below this. We'll make sure we put the link for Julia's Nepal trip in there. We'll put Sarasa Tantra in there. And for those of you that are tempted into our escape to paradise in Mexico, which we talked about in Yalapa, we'll make sure all those links are there so that you can decide which option works best for you. Sending love and blessings and namaste.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.